the content until 2:05. These sessions are designed to fit into a half-hour slot, so we just want to give people time to finish up what they're doing and be able to join us for the session today. But today we're looking at the basics of filtering on the customers module within Sage 50 accounts. So we'll just give a few more moments for those who are still to join the session, and then we'll make a start. Okay, so we're coming close to 2:05 there, and as I mentioned earlier, these are the quick learns, so these are designed to fit into a half-hour slot, so we do give people the opportunity to get logged on and join us. So today we're looking at filtering customers. While we're just moving towards 2:05, what we'll do is we'll just do some housekeeping first of all. So you will notice that you're placed on mute. That does mean you can't speak to me directly, but you can send questions across. So if you do have any questions on today's session or anything that we show you, then please do use the questions panel. To access that, look for the icon that looks like the speech bubble with the question mark in the middle, and that will open up the questions panel for you to send your questions across to myself. It's just myself today, so please do bear with me, and I'll try my best to get those answered in the time given today. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at filtering customers. So this is the first part of filtering customers. Next week we're going to advance on that, we're going to go into a little bit more detail and actually show you how to filter customers by analysis field. So this is just part one of a couple of sessions that are going to cover filtering your customers. So this is what we're going to cover in today's session. So we're going to look at the two different views within customers, both standard view and chase depth view. And then we're going to show you some common filters and how to apply them in the software. Also going to show you how to save some of your filters. So it might be that you want to use a filter on a regular basis. I'm going to show you how you can save them. Then we'll summarize and just talk about some of the upcoming webinars that we've got over the next few weeks. So first of all, why would you want to use filters? So if you think about it, there's actually quite a lot of data held in your customers module. So if you think of all of the different fields on a customer record that you can fill in, and some of that data might be useful for you to filter by. So we can apply filters to help you locate data. It might restrict records that you are showing on a screen, so you can then maybe export it to Excel, allow you to find certain records, and also run reports on the records that have been filtered out. So there's quite a few reasons why using a filter might be quite beneficial to you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at filters within the demonstration data. So this means if you have access to your demonstration data now, you're more than welcome to give it a go and do it alongside the session today. Or if you want to watch the recording back at a later point, or give it a go in your own time, you do have access to the demonstration data. To log into demonstration data, you can go into File and Open, and within there you would have an option to open demonstration data. I don't currently because I'm already logged into that particular company. When it asks you for login details, the logon would be manager, and if you just leave the password blank, that will take you into our data set. Now, most of what I'm going to show you today is already in the demonstration data. There is a couple of bits of data that I've added in specifically for today's session, so some of them might not work. You'll have to add those additional fields in. Okay, so we're focusing very much on customers today, but a lot of what we're going to show you today can still be applied to suppliers as well, but we do just try to keep it very specific on these quick learns for you. So the first thing I want to show you is that you do have two different views within your customers module. You have the standard view, and also if you're on accounts professional and standard, you also have the chase depth view as well. So that's one way of filtering them immediately, because on the standard view, you see things like the address, and on the chase depth view, you see more relating to payments and outstanding payments. So we're going to focus first of all on the standard view. And this is where it's looking very much at the records, the details around that customer. Okay, so looking at the filter option, we're going to be looking at this feature over here. You can see filter. We're not going to be looking at the quick search at all. That is something we're covering in a couple of weeks, is the quick search feature. So we're actually looking at this one here. Now, the first thing to learn is if you're going to apply a filter is to make sure that you don't already have any filters already applied. And the best way to check that is over here. What we should be seeing is all records or 31 of 31 records. So immediately, this is telling me I already have a filter applied. So quite often we'll get the call to say, I'm running a report and something is missing. Quite often it's because there's a filter applied onto the list. So to make sure that I've got everything showing, what I need to do is just go onto my filter. As you can see, it's got the tiny little recycle bin next to it. You can click on there and that removes the filter. Now, my other thing I would always recommend is to pop into filter, and whatever's in here is to clear that, apply and close. Because if you already have a filter sort of sitting there on the window, it's sometimes what I call sticky, and it means that if you try to put another filter on top, it filters within the filter, which can cause issues on your data. So I'm just going to go through a couple of standard common requests that we might get through onto technical support or what we get asked on these sessions. So on this list here, what you can see is the default view. Now bear in mind, if you right click on any of these headers at the top, you can add additional information onto here. The information doesn't have to be showing on the screen though for a filter to work based on these. Now a really common one we'll get is I want a list of all my customers with, for example, maybe a zero balance or a balance over a certain amount. So I'm going to show you those two first. So I'm just going to make sure first I've got nothing highlighted. So I'm going to click clear and then I'm going to pop into filter. So within here, what we can do is add the filter on. So the first join, we only have one option. So we're looking for where, and then the field we're looking for is going to be the balance. So if we click on here, it gives us a drop down and we can look for the field of balance. Oops. So just bear in mind, we've got balance current, balance future. That's all to do with your aging periods. So just make sure you've just got balance selected. And first of all, we'll look for those that have a balance of 0. So it must equal, and we'll just leave it as 0 there. So I click apply and close. That has now filtered my list down from 31 to 7, all of which have a 0 balance at present. So that's a nice easy one there. Now again, we'll just change that slightly just to show those who have a balance of say over £1,000. So again, I'm just going to pop a filter on, and again, I'm just going to clear this first, clear and apply, and then I'm going to add a new field. So all I did there was click where it says join, and it gives me the drop down. And again, from the join, we've only got the option of where. I'm going to go back to balance. And this time from the drop down, we can select something like is greater than, might even be is greater than or equal to. So we want everything that's £1,000 or more. So I'm going to select this particular one here. This time, type in the value 1,000. Apply and close. And as you can see there in the balance column, all of the customers showing there now have a balance of over £1,000. Now, if I needed to do some work on this data, what I can then do is I can run my reports, and reports will then be filtered based on those that are showing on the screen. So if I was to run, for example, an age debtors report, it will only show those that we've got highlighted, selected on the screen. Or the other option is to send to Excel. And from Excel, we can then further manipulate that data. Now, we have done a whole quick learn just on send to Excel, so we're not going to cover that in any depth at all, but just understand that you can send your data from your Sage into Excel and continue your searches and filters from there. Okay, so I'm just going to clear the filter again, pop back into filter and clear form. And what you can also do is you can also add multiple levels to this. So if I did want to, for example, look at the default nominal code is equal to, say, 4,000, and the balance was over £1,000, then I can add different layers onto this filter. I'm just going to quickly pop that one on. We'll say 1,000 and apply. So these customers have a default nominal code of 4,000 and should have a balance of greater than 0. Now this is an example of where the filters hasn't quite worked in this case. I need to double check that there. But what you can do is add extra layers on. I'll need to double check what's happened on that one. But this is where you really need to make sure you've cleared your previous filters off there. So you can add multiple levels onto a filter, and that works really well where you're trying to look for things between a date range, for example. So it might be, I'll just show an example on another window in just a moment, where you're looking for transactions that fall within a date range. So we'll pop it into transactions. And just to give you an example, just find the date. So you might be looking for a particular month is greater than, say, the 1st of the 1st. Oops, apologies. Bring that one back. 2023. And for example, the end of January. So again, we would pop in the date. And what that will do is filter out all transactions within that particular date range. Now I will apply this, but I'll be honest, I haven't tested this one because this is one that's just come to mind to show you there. But I think on this data set, we're looking at 2022 data, but that would show you all the transactions within a given period. That's how you can use that particular filter there. But we'll pop back onto customers for now. So there's two more I want to show you on the customer side. So again, I'm just going to pop back into filter and make sure I clear this and apply, just so that we know we're searching within the full list rather than within another filter. And this time I want to show you is the wildcards. Now I'm just going to show you one wildcard today, and that is the asterisk wildcard. So I'm going to pop on another filter there. I'll go into where, and this time we're looking at the address. So it might be that you're looking for all customers in a particular postcode. So again, this is a really popular one. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit further, looking for registered address. Apologies if I go too fast, it'll go past it. There we go, just like that. And what we're going to do here is I want to look for all of my customers who have a Durham postcode. Okay, now if you're not from the Northeast, a Durham postcode begins with DH. Obviously the rest of the postcode could be very different. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put in DH and then asterisk. Oops. So what that's then doing is looking through all the records that have a postcode that begins with DH, but the rest of it may vary. So again, I'm just going to apply this. This one has worked for me. So we've got two customers there with a Durham postcode, and that may be that I'm doing a particular campaign for these. It might be that I'm looking for sales reps to assign to these particular customers because they're in the area. So that just allows me to look for part of the record and use the asterisk, and that's a wildcard. Wildcards are great, and what I'd recommend is there is an article that you can have a look on how do I filter my lists, and it gives you a bit more information on those different wildcards as well. Okay, so I'm going to move on next to the chase debt option and just show you a couple of filters in here. So within the chase debt window, at the top, we've got the drop down here, which allows us to filter based on common themes that you would filter if you were chasing debt. So things like those who've maybe given me a promise to pay. So as you can see, I've filtered it by promised, and all of these have a promised payment showing. It could be those that are just overdue that I want to look at. So again, I can select overdue, and it will show me all of those with an overdue balance. We can also use the filter in here for a custom filter. So if I just clear that filter again, pop into filter, and again, make sure we clear the format and apply. Always make sure you apply it as well. And what I'm going to show you here is an example of something more relating to chasing debt. So we're going to use the join of where again. And we're going to look for account on hold is equal to yes. So here I'm looking for any customers that I've placed on hold. Now this is an account status, and this allows me to put them on hold if they're maybe in bad debt, if we're maybe in sort of legal proceedings, and we are covering that on Thursday afternoon. on another webinar. So if you want to know a bit more about the account status, Thursday at 2 o'clock is a good session for you. So I'm just going to say yes on here and apply. And now I should be able to see anybody who has an account status of on hold. So I'm just going to look at this record here just so you can see where it's picking that up from. You can see there automatically I've got the warning. And in credit control, you can see the account status is showing us on hold. And there's a few different statuses that have on hold on them. Now, finally, I just want to show you if you have got a search that you want to use and you're going to use on a regular basis, and you can actually save a filter. So for example, here, we've got the one where we're looking for all of those in a postcode beginning with DH. Now, if I want to run that on a regular basis, rather than trying to remember what to put into each field, what I can do is save. And what I'm just going to call this is Durham and save and close. And what that means next time is I come in to do a filter. If I clear the form, I can go into open, and then I can find my previous filter. So really handy, particularly if I've got a filter that maybe has 2 or 3 lines. It's quite a specific filter that I'm using on a regular basis. Once you've got that right, click Save As and save it. It will save you having to enter it time and time again. Okay, so got some questions there saying you don't have the default nominal code in the field. So I'm just going to go back into the filter. So sometimes you've got to be really careful what you're looking for because it's not always obvious. So sometimes rather than date, it might be invoice date, for example. Okay, so just think about what it is you're looking for. If there's any other terminology, it might be. So if we look down here, should be in alphabetical order, but on your customers, you should have the option for default nominal code. If you don't have it on your customer record, then obviously it won't find that particular item when you do the search. So if you want to check where you've got that on your customer record, it's in your defaults, and it's looking at this record here for 4,000. So again, someone saying they don't have date, just bear in mind it might be transaction date, it might say invoice date, so just think about the wording sometimes. So sometimes you do have to scroll through to get familiar with how the titles are named on there. Another really good question there is, wouldn't it be great if we just could type into here, start typing in? So you can start typing. So if you know you're looking for something begin with T, you can type in the letter T and it will take you to the T's, but you still need to scroll from there. I agree, it would be great if you could just type in the whole thing and it would find it for you. So there's a quick question there is, can you show an example where you can use the filter in the customers module for all occurrences of a word in a record, for example, the contact name? Now for that one, I would probably recommend a quick search. Okay, so filter would still work, but quick search is just as quick. So what I'll do is I'll just type in I'm just going to have to quickly check we've got one of these. Just going to type in the name John here. And that will look through the records, but it looks through all the fields on the record. So if you're doing a filter, you're specifically saying in one field, okay? Whereas a quick search looks through all or most of the fields on a record. So yes, if you were looking for a contact of John, you could do a filter of where the contact equals John, or you can use the quick search. And what that will do is it will look through the whole record. So if you see here, this top one here, the contact's Peter, but the name of the account includes the word John. So sometimes your quick search might be better. Now again, Abby's doing a session in 2 weeks' time on quick search to show you the benefits of quick search. So do join that session as well, and she'll go into a little bit more detail there. Okay, so remember you do have filter in most modules, okay? But today we're just focusing on the customers module, but you do have that filter option in other modules as well. So you just need to adapt what you've learned today to apply it to those other modules. That brings us to 25 past. So we do try and keep this within the half-hour slot. So if you've got any questions, please do get them across. In the meantime, just going to very quickly talk to you about the rest of the week's sessions. So tomorrow we've got budgets with Michael tomorrow afternoon, and he's back on Thursday morning with dashboards. On Thursday afternoon, we're looking at account status. And on Friday morning, if you haven't already joined us, we're looking at the improved bank feeds feature that's coming in August. So it's not here yet, but we're trying to give you a little taste of what's to come. So that one's on Friday morning if you want to find that one. Now the link to register and have a look at all the content coming is in your follow-up email today. So please do check that out and get yourself registered for as many as you like. They're all free of charge. Okay, so let's have a quick look, see if there's any final questions coming through there. So another quick one there, I'm just going to show, might hopefully help answer this one. Okay, so I'm just going to go back into customers. So again, I'm going into my filter, and this is another really common one we get asked for, is I want to know when I last sort of dealt with a customer. So I'm just going to remove this quick search as well. Get rid of that so we can see all records. So another filter we can apply is for invoices prior to a certain date. So on your records, you have a last invoiced date. So if you use the invoices and credits module, that field will update. So quite often we'll get the request if I want to see which customers are maybe I'm not using anymore or I haven't dealt with for a while. So here what we can do is we can apply a filter where the invoice date. So again, this is where a good example of where it's not just date, it's invoice date. So it's a little bit hard to find. So apologies, I've gone too far. My alphabet's escaping me today. So we'll just find invoice. There we go. Last invoice date. And what we could do is less than. I'm going to pop a date in of the 1st of August, 2022, and apply. What this is doing is showing me a list of those customers who I haven't invoiced using invoices and credits since 2022, or the 1st of August 2022. So that's another good example of how it may be used and how customers quite often ask for how a filter would be applied. Okay, so we're drawing very close to past there. It looks as though it's all quiet on the question front. I will give you just a few more seconds just to see if we can get any final questions through. But if you are leaving us, thank you for joining today's Quick Learn. And we will be back next week. As I mentioned, we're following on. Next week, we're looking at filtering by analysis fields. So just adding another level onto there. Quick question there, is there a listing of the fields in each module available on Sage City? There won't be a listing of the fields available in each module, no. It basically is, if you right click on here, it's these fields here. So it's kind of contained within the software, but there wouldn't be anything on Sage City for the listing of the fields. Anything that's within here, you can apply a search for. Okay, so that brings us just 1 minute before past there. So we'll start to draw the session to an end there. So thank you very much for joining us again today. And like I say, we've got loads of content coming up over the next few weeks again. So feel free to join as many sessions as you wish to do so. So for now, take care everyone, and we will hopefully see you again tomorrow, if not later on this week on another session. Take care for now everyone, and have a great afternoon.